Greetings, folks. This is Scott with the Game Audio Institute, and we are back in ChatGPT Land. We are going to see if ChatGPT can continue to stand in as a type of middleware when we don't have middleware available. For example, if we're in a situation where the game team decides not to use middleware, and we're stuck with just throwing assets over the fence. Maybe we can do more than that. Maybe we can have ChatGPT kind of help us as a sort of pseudo programmer. Wouldn't that be cool? Anyway, I did actually post this in LinkedIn with some suggestions, and I got lots of great responses and a couple of comments from at least one person, and mostly just a lot of likes and shares and whatever like that. But nobody actually gave me any suggestions about what I would want, what they want to see ChatGPT do. So anyway, this is just more of the same. I've kind of figured out something that I'd like to try. So let's go take a look and see what we're planning on doing. Okay. So what we've got is I managed to find a very cool animated asset with gears. I'll let you know what I'm planning on doing. But anyway, this asset is available here on Sketchfab. It's very, very cool. It's by trinityscsp. That's the person, and it already comes with its own animations and everything, and it's got a bunch of gears working. It's actually for like a toy that they basically made, essentially. And it's actually very lovely within this environment. Looks like it's just totally belongs here. It's fantastic. All these primary colors. I love it. Anyway, so what we're going to do is a type of thing that is a little bit difficult to do if you're just playing sounds, okay? So what we're going to be doing is a situation in which this unit is going to be inactive until you run into a trigger and you make it start to work, okay? And then when it starts to work, it's going to be making sounds, okay? And then the idea is that that sound is going to be a loop. And then when you run into it again, it'll shut down, okay? So the idea, I might not be able to make the animation look like it's shutting down or anything like that. So bear with me. I'm not the perfect game designer here. But the idea is that this is a start, loop, and then end. Okay, so it's a start, loop, and end. So we have a single sound that is actually going to be broken up into 3 individual sound assets. One of the things that's very important to understand about looping inside Unity is that you have to loop the entire file. You can't just loop a portion. You can potentially loop a portion of the file, but it's a little tricky and not straightforward at all. So therefore, and not necessarily 100% reliable either. But anyway, so the deal is that if you do this, the sort of the normal way in the basic Unity audio system, that's the idea, is that basically you're going to get this situation where it will start, it'll loop, and then it'll end. So then we have 3 assets that we're going to be able to do. Now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to basically telling it to essentially go from the first asset to the second asset immediately and then loop. And then what we want it to do, of course, is on the next trigger, we have it trigger the outro, basically, the end, essentially, to the sound. So I want to give another shout out that's actually kind of interesting, and I will probably do a video on this at some point. So that is this object right here. This is currently running in a version of Windows inside something called UTM. It's only a Windows product, so you can't run it on a Mac natively, but you can run it. This is the 32-bit version. This is the Action DSP. And what I've done is I've been able to basically create a bass sort of sound that I kind of want to do. There's some playback controls over here. You can't quite see them all. There's a lot of cool things you can do. And I'll probably actually cover this in much more detail with my video over here. It's something like that, not getting in the way, in other words. But anyway, what it sounds like is, you can draw this kind of sound that you want here. In this case, this is a sound of a lock. It's a kind of a weird lock. It's very heavy. It sounds more like an anchor chain, really. But so this is what I ended up with when I first, basically kind of created the sound. This is procedural audio creation. Okay, so. And there you go. It's probably, I think I have a slightly different one that I actually ended up with, but this is a rough idea. And you can get randomized versions of this thing. So for example, you hit random play and it'll just come up with its own version. So that's kind of cool. Anyway, so there's lots of stuff and you can export it. There's a lot of things to talk about with this, but just I was basically using it and it actually did a pretty good job. So I do want to give a shout out to Nicholas Fornell and Tsugi Audio for this particular thing. It's really an awesome, awesome product. And for Windows, just a total no-brainer. For Mac, you're going to have to run it under Parallels or in this case, UTM or something like that. Anyway, all right, so onward. So let's edit this into 3 pieces, okay? So we have those 3 files, all right? And the next thing we need to do is get into Unity. We have our audio assets, just to give us an idea of what we got going on. And our motor gear start is this one. Here's our loop. We set the loop here. Yep, that's right. And then we're going to finish it with this. Okay. And then it won't loop, of course. All right. So we've got all our assets now in place, essentially. Okay. Now we need to talk to ChatGPT and say what we want to have happen. All right, let's take a look and see what we're doing here. Now, I'm actually giving this an extremely long amount of information. And believe it or not, ChatGPT can actually handle this amount of information. This is not difficult for it to do. I know people who are making entire games by just telling ChatGPT to make a game and creating lots and lots of instructions. So here's what I'm telling it to do. I would like you to make me a C# Unity script utilizing a box collider in trigger mode, an animator, an audio source component, and 3 audio clips. On entry of the trigger, the script should check for the player tag, and if it's a match, it should play a specific animation state and trigger the first audio clip to play, which will play through and then immediately switch to the second clip, which should loop. On exit, the script should do nothing, but on re-entry of the trigger, it should switch to playing the third clip, which will play to the end and not loop, and then the animator component should stop once that sound has finished playing. Okay? So that's basically the directions. So let's see what we got here. We got our public animator as an animator. We got our audio source. We got our 3 clips, clip 1, clip 2, clip 3. Yep. We got the playing and trigger is false. Players and trigger automatically false. Then if other compare tag player, players and trigger true. Animator play, your animation state name, audio source clip equals clip 1, audio source play, start coroutine, play looping clip. Start coroutine. So let's take a look at coroutine, play looping clip. Then it says yield return new wait for seconds clip 1 dot length. That's interesting. Then it says audio source clip 2, audio source loop is true, audio source play. That's basically cool, right? So it'll do that and it'll keep on looping. Then we're going to say on trigger exit, collider other. If other compare tag player in trigger is false, stop all coroutines. Oh, that's going to be interesting. Audio source stop, which is not what I want. I do not want the audio source to stop playing. So that's going to have to be fixed. Audio source should not stop playing and animator should not stop playing. But I didn't actually say it should stop playing. But anyway, here we go. Then we come back in. Yeah, that's going to be tricky because the coming back in part is the part that I don't see happening. Yeah, that's going to be an interesting thing. That's definitely not going to work. This will definitely be inaccurate for sure. It's not going to behave correctly, but we're close. This is the whole idea. Again, you can't no scripting. You can't just be completely trusting that it's just going to perfectly get it right every single time because it won't. But let's just see what we got here. We're going to get part of the way. That's for sure. Now I want to make myself a trigger script. Let's go into here. That's our little lovely thing with our controller around it. So we'll put that there. We're going to put our add component. What was the script actually was saying it was? Trigger script. We'll see what happens. I'm going to call this trigger robot. That's going to be our new script. It's going to be called trigger robot. We're going to call it create and add. And then we're going to double click and that will open us up into this. And we will see our thing here. Okay, Cool. All right, so let's get her in. We're gonna have to change the public class, of course, but that's okay. So we'll have to call the public class trigger robot. All right, so we're not completely done here by any means. So we're just going to be going here, and then we got to see what we can see in here. And we're going to be able to put some assets in here, but we haven't really, we'll figure this all out. So, all right, so we're going to have our various audio clips. So this is going to be, yep, going to put this over here. What is this? Motor gear loop start, motor gear start. That one, that's going to be our first one. Our next one is going to be motor gear loop. And our third will be motor gear finish. Okay. So, and it looks like actually the finishy thing might end up actually finishing before the thing stops moving. So that's probably not going to be a great thing. But that's just that's something we have to figure out later on. But we'll do that. No worries. Our animator, well, there's an animator actually directly on the object itself, so I'm going to drag in the animator from there. Our audio source we have not created yet, so we're going to do that. We can create an audio source. So we'll do that. Okay, so, we'll see whether this actually works or not. We do need to make sure that our player object is, in fact, tagged as player, or we won't be able to actually even trigger this at all. Player armature should have the tag player. There it is. Good. Okay, so let's see what happens. Okay, here we go. Oh, animator go to state could not be found. Right, because we didn't put the state in there. Now, what we want to do is say it's your animation state goes here. So I'm going to say your animation state name is that one, robot move. Cool. So I believe that should work. And then we'll see whether the animator stop playback. Okay, all right, we'll see what happens in that case. Here we go. See what happens. Oh, it's working. Certainly isn't playing any audio, however. That's going to be interesting. I wonder why. Because I didn't give it a variable? I might not have given it a variable. So that's probably what happens. Again, these are probably my issues. Because it doesn't know which audio source to use. Yep, that's right. Okay, here we go. You can also tell it to do that kind of stuff in scripts. But again, I'm being sort of deliberately obtuse here. And I'm making mistakes as well. So anyway, let's try that one more time. And I think we'll be good for the water. Or for the thing now. Oh, that didn't work. See? As soon as I walked into the thing, it's basically not there. So it'll stay looped as long as I stay right next to it. But yeah, so that's not really going to help. I also want to bring down the volume of this because it is rather loud, even as a 3D sound. Anyway, so the deal in this particular case is our script needs work. It's not quite there. So ChatGPT got us 80 or 90% of the way there. So the thing is that what it didn't get was the logic in entering, exiting, and re-entering. That's what it didn't get. So there's going to have to be some information about that, basically. So we can say player and trigger, and we could probably call it something like that about other, yeah, so that's fine. It's a little bit, I mean, the naming is not the best name, basically. So we could say player triggered. Right, player triggered equals false. Then this becomes player triggered is true. I like to make sure that I give my names something logical so that I understand what the heck was going on. So I say player triggered is true. Now, when will player triggered be false? Only before we walk into that thing. Now, if it is true, then what we can say here specifically is if the player was already entered, right? So if we say if the player is triggered, because that will happen the second time, right? So we can say player triggered. Then what we want to do, what do we want to do? We want to basically go into all those other things. So let me see about that last coroutine. That last coroutine might be what we were looking for. So probably we could take this whole thing here. Let's just see if that's good. That's going to be interesting because we do not want to stop the playback until we're already there. So we have to basically create, I think, another looping. Yeah, so probably what we want to do is do this. Now I could tell ChatGPT to do all these things myself too, but I'm sort of kind of figuring this out. And I could actually, one things that I could do it, I could say, okay, well, you didn't get quite this right, but try this other thing. Try these other things. I could actually say something about what I want to have happen instead, basically. So let's go and say, okay. Entering the trigger, however, should stop the second clip and switch to the third clip. And after a variable set pause time, the animator should stop. Okay, that's what I'm saying. So let's go with the skin. And then what I usually like to do with this ChatGPT is kind of check it against my script, kind of go back and forth a little bit and look at one and look at the other, and not just automatically like just take the entire thing and copy it and paste it back over. I just want to basically see what changes it's planning on doing and then seeing if that works. So let's just see whether this works at all. This is going to be an interesting variant on what we already have. Notice that on the on trigger exit, that's the important thing we're looking at. If other compare tag player, it is always wanting to compare the tag player is interesting. So then it says player is in trigger false. That's fine. So in other words, it adjusts that Boolean, but it doesn't stop the playback. Then on trigger enter, the next time it enters, it should say if. How do we get to the third one? I still think there's some problems here. For one thing, the animator is automatically going to get re-triggered again, which is not great. I guess if it's already playing, then maybe it won't do anything. If not, it's playing looping clip. Oh, if you're not playing the looping clip. Okay, all right, that makes sense. Okay, so I did check it. I actually did paste the whole thing as it was, and it kept all my assignments and everything like that. So that's all really cool. I'm gonna just try it and see if it behaves at all correctly. I don't know. I'm literally just making. I don't know. We'll see what happens. So I'm gonna go here. Then if it works, then we'll deal with it. But we'll see what happens. Okay, coming in, and once again, leaving. That's interesting. So the animator's not working. Why is that? Oh, because it's your animation state name again. I'm sorry. That's my fault. Yep. There we go again. Yeah, it still likes that. Okay, so for some reason, it stops playing back even though the animation doesn't. So let's go back and do this again. So what's happening again is it must be updating every frame and looking for me to exit the trigger. At one point, it will then stop looping the thing. So that's still wrong, basically. So it says if other compare tag player is in trigger false. And if player is in trigger false, it's probably going to be here an update and say player. Yeah. So basically that's the deal. All right. So there's definitely a problem here. And I don't know if ChatGPT can automatically solve it for us. Let me do a little bit of searching and figure it out myself. Okay. So we're back here. I'm looking at seeing at what it's trying to do. I'm not terribly happy with on trigger stay. I don't really think that on trigger stay is necessary. I think on trigger enter is super necessary. But the idea is we want to be able to change the player and trigger is player and trigger true. That's fine. I think I would probably make something else here happen on this front. What seems to happen is when I try this, and especially if I happen to leave the trigger before I get out, and what happens is that it just basically it'll stop playing before I get out. So let's just sort of show you real quickly what the behavior is. So again, go through here, and then as long as I stay there, fine. Right? But then here's an interesting thing. So when I go here, it doesn't shut off. So we still got some issues to have to basically deal with. Okay, so we still have some issues to deal with. Let's take a look at the script, I think. We definitely want it to not know that I'm in the trigger or anything like that if I leave before the trigger has finished playing or anything like that. Because as soon as you walk into the trigger, that's it. It's just because it should start and then it should go to the loop. That's the idea. So, okay. So that being said, I really think I'm going to edit some scripts and then I'll tell you what I did. Okay, it's on. Oh, still going. Huh. Yeah, interesting. Okay, so that's not right. Obviously. We're getting close to the end of this one. I got it basically figured out. It's a little bit tricky though, for sure. What I had to do was actually create an if and an else if. The thing was that the if was changing the player and trigger state immediately at that point, so it kept looping itself a lot. So that was a problematic situation. We didn't like that. So what happens now is I'm also matching both the tag and whether we have not been in the player trigger before. So we're automatically starting with the false, the player in trigger is false. And then at that point, we enable the animator. That's the reason why is because we can't actually stop the animation. If we stop the animator, the animation still keeps playing, unfortunately. So anyway, then it starts to play. And then we start our coroutine called play and loop. Play and loop, of course, is going to do what we already were saying. It waits for the amount of time of the first loop. It will then switch to the second. It will then loop that, and it will play that. Okay? That's the looping portion. Then, when we exit the trigger, nothing happens. It's all totally fine. And then what happens is when we re-enter the trigger, then our condition is that we are in the trigger. We have visited the trigger before, basically. Then it goes to say stop coroutine play and loop. That's what, the current loop is happening. Then it says audio source clip is 3. I'm not going to be looping that clip 3. I want to play it, and then I want to start the coroutine, which is the animation delay, and then also turn my trigger false so that I can kind of revisit and turn it all back on again, basically. Then I go into the stop animation delay over here, and that goes yield return new wait for seconds clip 3 pause time, and it seems like 1 second is actually pretty fine, actually. So that was what was in the inspector, so that's actually fine. Debug log stop now. That was just so I could find out why it wasn't working, basically, and stop all coroutines. So again, ChatGPT got us partially started, but as you can see, it led us down a lot of different paths. Because there's lots of different ways to do things, and they may not all necessarily be the right way. This is the way that I would say, works pretty well and is pretty solid. So again, try this out, and we're going to play it. Here we go. So we come and visit our friend over here. It starts up. Leave. Go anywhere we want. This is a 3D sound at the moment. And then it stops. And there we go. All right, so we'll finish this up. All right, so I hope that was a bit of a marathon, actually, bit longer than we thought. So I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll probably be editing this together so it makes some kind of sense because there's a whole lot of retakes that we've been doing on this one. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed yourself, and we're going to be doing more of this sort of stuff. And please give some suggestions if you want to have something happen in this thing. You want to see how well ChatGPT functions in this particular regard. It's not the smartest programmer in the world. So, you're gonna go down a lot of like sort of dead ends before ChatGPT is going to be able to figure things out, unless it's a really straightforward thing. This is slightly less straightforward, so therefore it's going to be a little bit more involved, basically. So that's the deal. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. We've got lots of really cool stuff coming up, man. I've got a little bit more stuff happening with Unreal. I'm actually going to make some sound, I think. That'll be fun. And anyway, so like, share, subscribe, do all the things that people do when they watch YouTube videos. And basically, that's pretty much it. I think we got another one coming up sometime, probably late March. It may end up probably heading after GDC at this point in time. Anyway, so I hope this helps you get your game audio on. We'll see you next one. Bye.